Čo od nás vlastne chceš?
Okay, I'm here with Teresa, and we're going to talk about her film Nightsiren as it comes out this Tuesday on digital. I watched it. I actually just finished it this morning, and I was blown away with it. I felt like it was a great homage to like folk horror and witchcraft and all that, and I like the little twists and turns throughout the story. So great job on this film.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
So my first question is, how did you come up with the idea for the film?
Oh well, it was a process, I should say, but the main inspiration came from the book, which is the scientific anthropological book, where this researcher was going around Slovak modern villages, and she found out that people still believe in witches still today, which was very surprising for us, for me and Barbara, who wrote the script, and we started to think about this movie in this kind of realm of people who believe in these superstitions because they're still very much alive. And then the second inspiration came from this character Otila, which actually is real, and she's in the movie. But my dad, with his friends, he bought this cabin in the woods, and it was kind of holiday house where with no electricity or running water, and this house was like 100 years old, and we used to go there every holiday since I was a child. And when I was digging in and looking for like who was living there actually before, I found out it was this woman Otila, who was like walking barefoot, and everybody was scared of her in the village, and she just refused to live with the villagers, and they thought like she's scary, and they would like hide into their houses when she was walking around, and she was living with all these animals and snakes and bears and wolves around. So that was actually very inspiring for us, and we created this character. Actually, I can show you the picture of her if you want.
Yeah, sure. That'd be awesome.
Okay. I have it. I have it here in the frame because I really think like her life is very inspiring.
Oh, wow.
To see it, but like this is her. She was living there all alone, and yeah, and even when I today asked people about her in the village, they still kind of scared about talking about her. So yeah, so this was inspiration, and I should say third inspiration was just living a life of a woman in our society, and we wanted to talk about those issues as well because it's all connected. It's not just about witches and superstitions, but it's all about like how society is looking at the women, especially the women they don't want to follow the traditional ultra conservative path in our society.
That's interesting. Yeah, I did notice that because I saw that a lot of the men in the film were really like antagonistic towards the women in the film. Like especially Tomash. I swear I hated his character so much. I was like, please let something happen to him and so someone else, please.
Yeah,
He was like he's like one of those characters like who deserves to meet some sort of fate because he was so close. And I felt like he was trying to be like a ringleader of sorts as he's caused all this mayhem and but I really sympathize with Charlotta because I felt like she comes back to this village, she's trying to figure out what's going on, she's just asking questions. And because of that, everyone automatically assumes that she's a witch. Like, and also because she has this bonding with Mira, and I gotta say, Natalia and Ava did a tremendous job in those roles.
Oh, yeah.
They had such great chemistry together. What was it like working with them?
Oh, it was great. They're great. They're my friends now, and we started to work on it even before the shooting started. The casting process was very long, and because I wanted to make sure these two characters are casted right, they have the chemistry, they like it was very important, and also their characters are very complex, so it was for me important that the actresses can actually inhabit these people fully. So we worked. I took them to my cabin We read the script 1,000 times and just like make sure like they are in these characters, and yeah, they were like great professional. This was the first movie for Eva Amores, who played Mira. That was her first experience on the camera, and yeah, they would just do anything for this movie, and this is so, I felt very lucky to have them, to be honest.
Yeah, and I gotta say one thing that really really struck me was that we see Charlotta and her sister escaping their abusive mother, which is why they escape into the woods in the opening of the film. And then
Hmm.
later on, you see something similar happen with Tomash and his kids. And like it's funny, like because it's like first you have a woman abusing children, and then you have a male abusing children, but yet people see the male still as this hero because of, as you mentioned, society. They feel like
Yeah.
they're like these traditional, like, women have to do what men say, and they can do whatever they want. And I kind of think that's totally not right. I mean, but thankfully,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, this is what I was trying to, it's very good observation, because exactly like this violence and these, this like society thinking goes in circles. Like these things are happening, and until people actually fully realize why they're happening, that is because of them, it's because of us, what we do. We cannot blame witches or whoever for this. It's going to happen again and again and again. And I think this is, yeah, this is what I was trying to say through the movie as well. But it was funny, to be honest, that, I really like to hear that you felt with Charlotta. I met so many men from Slovakia who watched the movie, and they were like angry that there was no, like, they were like, where are good male characters? Like, why they're not in the movie? And I'm like, well, this movie is about these two women. Why do like, can you connect with them? But they couldn't really. They were like feeling like I'm kind of robbing them of these good male characters. And this is saying so much about our society, that still today, people would still think of this in these concepts, because honestly, in cinema, it's I was growing up in a place where I used for me it's absolutely natural to connect with male characters as well as the female characters. But for men, it's just normal to connect with male characters, and female characters, that's not for them, so it's like, it's so weird, but it just says that this movie is actually pretty much talking about the society as it is.
yeah, and what I really liked was, Charlotta had this, we get this little twist where, she's actually wearing a wig, she's in the woods, and
Yeah,
like,
don't say that.
yeah, well, no, I'm just saying, well, that happens, but when that happens, I think that's when everyone starts to assume, like, especially with the guys that are jeering at her, they think automatically that she's a witch because of that look. And I'm like, that's no. I was like, it might have been something else happened. I mean, I clearly didn't figure it out what happened, but still, just to see that and just to sympathize with how she's treated and all. But
Yeah.
I think the guys who said that there's no good male characters, I think there actually is one good male character in that film, and that's the
Yeah,
one.
it is.
And
Exactly.
like, I don't think they realize that. And like, do you guys not see the whole movie? Because it's like
Yeah.
there's one
Yeah.
good male character. He's there with Charlotta, and then there's a pivotal moment where he shows that he is a good person. He's not
Yes.
like the others. And
Yeah.
I won't spoil it, but I was like,
Yeah. No, no, you're right. But that's not enough,
exactly. So then I was like, yeah, I was like, why is it not enough? Well, at least it's one better than none.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's why I was like, come on, this is not the problem of the movie. This is your problem?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
also liked like a little nuance. Like I like the fact that a rave turned into something completely different, the rave scene. And I felt like I got this vibe from that movie Midsummer that came out a few years ago. It gave me that
Yeah.
little vibe as well. So it makes me wonder, like, was that a little bit of an influence in the film, or you just went with it?
I mean, of course I saw the Midsommar, and of course I watched The Witch, and there's definitely like, I'm watching movies, so I get influenced all the time, and I think this is such a natural process. Like we influence each other with what movies we put out, and but it wasn't like I'm trying to quote anything. It's yeah, I'm happy the horror genre is like moving towards more like psychological and, you know, like weirder parts, you know, that it's not just these like common horror tropes that we see all the time. And I loved Midsommar, of course, and I loved The Witch. The only thing I should say about The Witch, for example, is that I was like, okay, everybody's doing witches as like these evil, bad women. And this is what I was trying to do with my movie, to turn it around, that narrative, and show like, okay, if you're gonna keep doing witches as these evil characters, we are back in Middle Ages when, you know, they were just burning witches and thinking about them as evil. And I know even though it's like genre movie, it's good to sometimes twist
Exactly.
narratives. Yes, yes.
And you know, you showed me that picture of Otella earlier, and I gotta say, Eva Batova looked just like that lady in that picture. I don't know how you did it, but that was a striking resemblance when we see her
Oh,
in the movie. So great
yeah.
job of casting her, because she had seen that photo now. I totally saw the resemblance, and that was just a great job on your part there.
Yeah, and Eva, you know, Eva Bitova is such a, she's not just the actress, she's also a musician. She's like a character by herself. She's very, and that's why I was like, Eva needs to play this role because, you know, she is partially this character, and she also admitted it when I asked her to do it. She read the script and she was like, "Oh wow, yeah, that is me," sort of. So
Oh, so there
yeah,
you go. It worked perfectly. So
yeah.
how long did shooting principal like shooting take, and were there any challenges that you faced during production?
Well, we shot it during COVID in 2020, so that was one thing. But the good thing was that we shot it completely in mountains, so we were kind of separated from the world pretty much. We shot it in high mountains, which was also complication because, you know, you have to face the conditions, which are kind of crazy sometimes. Sometimes you have like snowing in the beginning of October, which, yeah, you don't really expect because you are supposed to burn the cabin that day and it's just snow everywhere. And or like we were having like mud until our knees and just like trying to navigate through that. So there was a lot of stuff in terms of like where and how we shot, because I just wanted to be very truthful to these experience, and I knew like this is gonna come off from the screen to people. I cannot just do it like in some small forest behind the capital. I have to go to the mountains because the mountains are the part of the story, definitely. So yeah, so that was a difficult, but it also, I just believe like if you have the cast and crew who are really devoted to what they're doing and they kind of go over their limit in a way, the movie had like it's going to be recorded there. And this is how I also see Nightsiren, and I knew like I was asking a lot from everyone, but I also made sure that I do it with people who want to do it for film.
Yeah.
So
You
yeah.
you mentioned the conditions. I mean, the one bonfire scene, that I mean, I can imagine like people must have been freezing. If that
Oh
was,
yeah.
they must have been freezing, yet they had to pretty much strip down to nothing. I mean, that was just that would be just insane.
Oh yeah, they were freezing. It was crazy. Even the whole scene in the forest with the naked people, it was
Yeah.
like minus Celsius, you know, so it was freezing literally, and people still were like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, like swimming in the lake, that was like the girls almost didn't like couldn't move anymore because the
oh,
water was frozen. Yeah, it was a lot of stuff that was kind of hard,
that was
definitely.
that's definitely dedication then, because that scene was like, it looked like it was totally like spring or summer out, but
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's how
not
it was.
realizing it was like freezing
Yeah, we
cold.
didn't have that luxury. Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. Well, overall, this was a fantastic movie. And so, are you developing something else now in the works now that Night Sirens in the can?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have multiple projects. I even have one project in America, but I can't talk about it yet. And I'm also going to shoot my third feature in Slovakia in January and July next year. That's going to be psychological drama, but also like I'm using kind of a little bit different methods than our usual there. So So it's called Father, and it's about the father who forgets his 2-year-old child in a car during the hot summer, and this is based on a true story. And so yeah, so I'm doing that, and I'm also shooting a documentary for HBO about this cult in Czech Republic. So yeah, I have quite a lot of work right now.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm hoping people will check out Nightsiren. It'll be on digital on Tuesday. If anyone who likes folk horror, witchcraft, but want to see something like completely different, they're going to want to see this movie. And Teresa, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it.
Absolutely, it was pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You take care.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye bye.